Welcome to Black Cat Chat. My name's Andy Clow. I'm the Marketing Director at Black Cat Building Consultancy. Today I'm joined by the legend that is Tony Threadgold, a colleague of mine for only a few months so far, but every moment I spend with him I learn so much. So we've invited him today to give us a bit of insight into, firstly, your history, Tony, and your background as to how you got to be at Black Cat. Tell us a bit about Black Cat, and then we've been working on some building regulation stuff that you're the absolute expert on. So let's start with a bit about you.
Okay. I'm Tony Threadgold, been in building control since 1978. That makes me very old. I've worked for both the public sector and the private sector. Worked on some of the biggest projects in the country, for example, the Trafford Centre from start to finish, million square foot sheds, etc. I've also been the owner of an approved inspector company. We had 6 offices, 60 staff. I eventually sold that in 2014 and retired for a couple of years.
Nice.
Got pretty bored with retirement, so I
Sounds amazing. Being bored from retirement does sound amazing. But
yeah, I've got a lot of hobbies, but I don't know, I got bored. Anyway, so I came back after a couple of years, and I started doing consultancy on building control, and that's when I first met Black Cat, both Stephen and James, two of the directors, and virtually from the start of Black Cat I did most, if not all, of their building control work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've worked on very large jobs and very small jobs with them, and it was really quite refreshing to work with somebody like James. James is very knowledgeable anyway on the regs, but it was nice to actually see a surveyor that did know his stuff when we were talking about the building regs. So after that, I was asked by Stephen if I would like to join Black Cat, and to be honest, I wasn't quite sure because I'm getting on a bit, and I probably just wanted to sort off to Barbados.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice option.
Which, so we had a few discussions, and I said, yeah, I'll come on and get the PD section, the building regs section set up for you. Let's get a group of people together so that as a company you can offer that service. We've been doing that since June last year. I've spent the last 6 months getting all the templates and information together that we need to actually run a section like that.
Yeah.
And I'm currently working on, I don't know, over 20 projects at the moment, where I'm carrying out the principal design service.
Yes.
For Black Cat.
Right, okay.
So people, I don't know if people understand currently that there is now some new regulations coming to force.
Let's assume they don't, okay?
Okay.
Hopefully this is going to be the education piece
Okay.
to on our call right now, on our recording. So yeah, let's go.
So in March 2022, the government passed some new legislation, the Building Safety Act, in March 2022. In October 2023, it came into force and has been in force since. Its aim was to, I believe, not end up with another Grenfell.
Right.
A lot of the procedures and methodologies that they're using now is to ensure that we don't get another Grenfell. Whether that works or not, only time will tell. So basically, the new regulations are controlled by the Building Safety Regulator, who is part of the Health and Safety Executive. The Building Safety Regulator regulates building inspectors now. So now, if you want to be in the building inspector profession, you have to have a license, which you have to pay a maintenance fee for every year of about 250 quid. You have to retrain I think it's meant to be about 150 hours retraining, and then you have a number of different levels of approval license, if you like, that you can have. So the highest is level 3, level 4 is about management, level 1s and 2s are just different types of work. So for example, if you want to do up to 18 stories, I believe you have to be a level 2 surveyor. Anything over 18 stories, you have to be level 3. Excuse me. So effectively, the Building Safety Regulator now looks after all building control. So the first thing is it licenses all the building inspectors. The second thing is it has split effectively building control into 2 different sectors. One is higher risk buildings, and one is non-higher risk buildings. So let's just have a look quickly at the higher rise buildings. What do you need? What's the definition of a higher rise building? The definition is that the building is over 18 metres in height to the uppermost floor, or 7 stories in height, and it has at least 2 dwellings.
Okay.
So more than 18 metres in height to the uppermost floor, or more than 7 stories in height, and it has at least 2 dwellings. So that's the definition of a higher rise building. The interesting thing now comes that the only people who can deal with higher risk buildings, so not rise buildings, higher risk buildings, are the Building Safety Regulator. So once you find out that your building is a higher risk building, you have to make your submission to the Building Safety Regulator. You cannot go to a local authority, you cannot go to an approved inspector as you could in the past.
And this, just for clarity for me as the definite non-expert in the room, that's for buildings that exist, that are under construction and are in planning.
Yes, new and existing buildings. Yes, across the board.
Okay.
Yeah. However, it's only in England currently.
England,
not Wales and
okay.
Scotland. That is likely to change, I believe, going forward, perhaps for Wales, but currently it's just in England. So high-rise buildings then give there's a couple of issues have been brought up, I think, with that. One is where you've got multi-storey, let's say, shopping centres that have got attached in some way some flats.
Yeah.
Might be 100 yards away, 200 yards away, whatever, but they are attached to the shopping centre. Then that building is a higher-rise building. There are some exemptions and some...
And it's high risk, isn't it? Right, that's the thing.
Sorry, high risk.
Yeah. Just in my head, I just need to get that through as well.
So there are some differences, and some depending on whether the buildings are attached and whether they're separated and things like that. But in general, we've got a particular job where a shopping centre has some flats attached at quite a distance from the actual shopping centre. And the only reason that the shopping centre is actually over 18 metres is a car park another 100 metres in the opposite direction. So what that does, that creates a bit of an issue in that retail's very fast, very quick turnaround. You want to get new tenants in as quick as you can. What's going to happen now is all those applications for whatever it is, a shop fit, of knocking 2 shops into one, whatever it might be, have now got to go to the Building Safety Regulator, who currently are under mega pressure on time.
Yeah.
There are some stories where they've been in for months and months, and it's not even been looked at. Further than that, it's also interesting that there's just been a freedom of information request to the government for what applications were submitted between October 23 and September 24, in other words, a year, and what was the approval rating. I think there was about 1,050, something like that, was the actual number of applications, and the actual percentage of approvals was 14%.
Wow.
So they've obviously got issues. I'm pretty sure it's about staffing issues, because of course a lot of people left building control when they had to retrain. So the older end, the people who got most of the knowledge have left, and we've now got a much smaller workforce, and of that workforce there's only a small number that can actually carry out work on higher risk buildings, because of the level that they're trained to.
So they're going through a period of transition.
Absolutely.
So how then, how does that affect us, and how can we support our clients? Let's say that shopping centre you're using the example. How can we cut through some of that red tape, or what offers do we give?
Well, it's interesting. I personally worked on a shopping centre, on many shopping centres, and if I was a client now and I just had a couple of flats knocking about in my building, I'd get rid of them overnight. And I think that, because if you're having to wait substantial periods of time to get your application approved, then it is going to cost you money. People will go somewhere else.
That 14% that you mentioned that stuck in my mind is a particularly low number in terms of success rate. Is that as simple as those units that you're talking about, combining two units into one, and because you have to now apply for that regulation to be ticked, it's those ones as well? It's not the ones that are affecting the higher risk parts of the operation.
No, once a building becomes a higher risk building, every application within that building has to go to the BSR. It just so happens in the shopping centre we have big, fast turnarounds, because they want to get the tenants in, they want to get the resale going. Because that's a big issue in retail, I think it's going to become a serious problem for clients who have buildings that have got higher risk issues. Of course, if you've got a higher risk building, there are other things you've got to go on the higher risk register with the BSR, and that in its own way produces work that has to be carried out to actually get on that register. And the idea of the whole thing, it's called the golden thread. It's interesting. My name's Threadgold.
Absolutely,
it's called the golden thread, and the idea is, from cradle to grave, we now look after a building. Grenfell's a good example of where that didn't happen, where we had alterations made to the building, we had poor maintenance, etc., etc. And as a consequence, the idea of this new legislation is that we can follow it from the day it was first thought of to when it's actually in use and gets demolished effectively. And there's a trail of information that's available to tenants, to owners, to people who are perhaps making some alterations to buildings, that can be followed on and audited all the way through that process, so that we can ensure that emissions that happen on the likes of Grenfell don't occur in the future. Again, time will be the arbiter of that, but it should happen.
Of course. So the terminology that I'm learning quite a lot about, having worked with you, is the role of the principal designer. That's something that maybe you could give us a bit of a clearer outline of that, and then some of the risks that I'm understanding involved with not getting a principal
Okay.
designer in place.
So the client is responsible for any work that's carried out on his building.
Yeah.
Now, he can opt to be the principal designer.
Okay.
He can opt to be the principal contractor, and obviously he is the client. Now, if he does that, he has to then effectively take the responsibility of that building complying with the building regulations.
Okay.
99% of people don't have that knowledge.
Of course.
So a client would employ a principal designer. The idea of the principal designer is to work with all the design team, collate all the information, look at the information, check the information that's from M&E, structures, fire engineering, whatever's involved in that particular job, get it all together, and then get it to a point where the design is complete.
Okay.
Now that's a bit of a difference from where we used to be in the past, because a lot of design was contractor design led. So we might have an M&E contractor who's designing all the M&E in the building. All that they would have had to work to would have been a specification from an M&E designer in the past.
Okay.
Now, before you submit your application to BSR, you've got to have your design effectively cast in stone. So the principal designer at the end of the project actually signs a competency declaration from the BSR, or if it's a non-higher risk building, the approved inspector or the local authority.
Okay.
They sign a declaration that says that the building effectively complies with the building regulations. So it's quite onerous.
Yes.
It's what we're saying is, you're saying you've done all that, you've checked all that information, you've got it all together, and you are reasonably certain that it complies with the regs. It's interesting because we've got currently designers such as architects, and where we've got a contractor that's doing contracted design items saying, nah, I don't want to take this role on a PD.
Okay.
Because it's too onerous. I don't know all the regs.
Yeah.
I don't understand, what makes it comply. So I'm not doing it.
Okay.
So consequently, the client normally would employ a PD. Now, it's not simple as that, because he has legal responsibilities in that he has to ensure that the PD he employs is correct for that particular job. So as that person, that company, oh, and by the way, it is a company, you might employ a company, but you've also got to employ a fixed name in that company.
Right.
So you've got to identify a person that's responsible for PD.
Yeah.
Okay? So the client has to ensure that you are able to carry out that function.
Okay.
So he has to do due diligence.
On the individual as well as the company.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So effectively, once he's done that, the PD's ensconced. He also has to employ a principal contractor.
Okay.
He has to do the same thing there. Currently, that's been done anyway by the project managers. When it goes out to tender, they send it to a number of different contractors to tender, etc. And due diligence is generally done at tender stage. So I don't think there's anything new there. But it's a client requirement now. The client has to effectively agree that that contractor is capable of carrying out that work. Now, so there are three legal people effectively under the new requirements: the client, the principal designer, and the contractor.
Yeah.
So at the end of the job, those three people have to sign it off. They have to sign a compliance declaration form, and that's the end of the process effectively. Now, it's quite interesting because I've been at it since 1978. I've been working in building control since 1978, and I've never ever effectively been threatened with prison if I don't do my job correctly.
Okay.
The penalties now for principal designer and principal contractor and client is that if there are issues, and I understand why they're doing it, they don't want another Grenfell, then you could be prosecuted, you could be sent to prison for 2 years, and there are unlimited fines. So as a consequence, it's quite interesting that a lot of people don't want to carry out that role. In Black Cat, we've decided that we do. We've put together some procedures and processes that we believe ensure that we carry out the function properly, professionally, and we've currently got 20 or 30 jobs. We're doing the PD role,
and that's been in a matter of months as well. Right?
Yeah,
so
I would say in the last 3 months I've took on somewhere around 20, 24, 25 jobs.
So there's clearly a market for it, and there's an appetite for it, because you are taking, with your expertise, you're taking the responsibility of potential mistakes that someone might make. And that's the key part, right? So that falls upon yourself and Black Cat as a whole. So ideally, we can, if a client has a query, the best process is to just give you a call, right? Yeah. And you can advise them on these things.
Yeah. Basically, it's interesting how building controls change as well, because I'm aware now that instructions from local authorities and approved inspectors is we do not give advice.
Okay.
So in the past you may well have gone on a foundation inspection, for example, and you might have explained that your view was it wasn't good enough, you should get a structural engineer involved, or dig deeper, or widen it, or whatever. And now most building control bodies, which are local authorities and approved inspectors, are not doing that.
No.
They are not willing to effectively help in the design of the building. So that's good for me and Black Cat, because we're quite happy to give people advice.
Yes.
So if people phone me up about anything to do with building control, anything to do with high-rise buildings or non-high-rise buildings, then you can talk to me, no problem. We'll attempt to help them out. And the information that I used to give as a building inspector freely now is part of effectively the PD role, I believe.
Amazing. Okay, Tony. I mean, we've been speaking about this for a little while, which is why I think I've picked up a little bit of it, so thank you so much for explaining further to me and to any of our watchers or listeners, and hopefully clients current and future. And so, like I said, if anybody out there does need just the advice, then reach out, and we're perfectly, we are set up to serve. Thank you so much for your insight there, and for joining us on in front of our nice numbers and everything here on one of our early podcast recordings. I'm sure we'll have you back, because as you will see in the edit, this is probably done in a one take. You're so good at this. So it's been brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And thank you for listening, watching. Anyone out there, we'll have plenty more from our Black Cat experts, clients, and other parts of the team. So speak to you next time. Thank you.